How's everybody doing? Wonderful. Can everybody hear me okay? We have a microphone, so I'm just going to talk real loud today. We'll keep the doors open in case we get some more folks. I know that other session is still going on. So excited to be back in Amelia Island with our friends here at the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce. Always one of the best weekends of the year. It is not lost on me that I'm the only thing keeping everyone from a giant ballroom full of free booze in an hour. So we're going to move fast, and we're going to tell some fun stories, and we're going to have some fun today talking to you about some of my favorite topics and try to drive you a lot of value. For those who don't know me, my name is Jay Revell. I am the president and chief storyteller at Revell Media. We like to tell everyone that we offer corporate storytelling that grows brands and bottom lines. And before we really get into the meat of things, I want to take a second to introduce y'all to the real talent at Revell Media, and that is our team. Starting in the back of the room, she's doing something, but I'm going to call her out anyway, is my dear friend Sarah Solomon. Sarah was our first employee, and we used to work together over at the Chamber of Commerce. She is a wonderful human being, an even better storyteller. And she is our creative director. All the fun stuff that we put out in the world usually comes right through Sarah's creative mind and hands. And she does an excellent job for us. And where is Samantha? Samantha Rivers was employee number 2 at Revell Media. She's our communications director. I was deeply worried that when I poached her from the chamber, Sue Dick would never talk to me again. But we're still friends, thank God. Sam touches every single piece of communication that goes out the door from our shop and does a beautiful job. And finally, we have Taylor Shaw. Taylor is the newest member of our team. She's our brand strategist, social media guru, and she is really good at finding creative ways to tell stories through all the things that we do for our clients. And I would be totally lost in the world without one more member of my team. That is my wife, Sarah Revell, right there. We wouldn't have much of a business if it weren't for her putting up with all my shenanigans. So appreciate you being here, hon. Today we're going to talk about this topic that is really fun. We call it the short list. And this whole concept for us really came into view about 6 months ago when I was playing golf. By the way, brace yourselves, you're going to get a couple golf stories. So I'm playing golf with one of my dear friends and clients. His name is Corbett Proctor. Any of y'all know Corbett Proctor? Great Tallahassee man. He is the owner and operator of the Window World franchise in Panama City. And Corbett and I were playing golf. We were celebrating his first year owning the business, going over some goals and objectives for the year ahead. And I said, Corbett, what is the one thing you really want to achieve in year 2? And he looked at me and he says, you know, Rev, I really just want to find a way to get to the top of my customer short list. And I'm over here like waggling over a putt, and I'm like, what was that? That's pretty good. I like that, the short list. And so when we talk about the short list, what we mean is a really small list of candidates that a final choice is made from, okay? And that could be something, maybe you're hiring someone who's on the short list. Maybe you're looking for someone to solve a particular problem that you have. And we believe at Revell Media that your number one business objective should be to get to the top of your customer's short list. And I can assure you that every customer, no matter what industry, what field you're talking about, has a short list of companies who they think can solve their problem if they pick up the phone and call them in an instant. And all of the companies that we get an opportunity to work with in Tallahassee and beyond, when we say we specialize in corporate storytelling, the objective of that is to get those companies to the top of their customer short list. So if you don't believe me, I want to prove that theory for a little bit. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I would really love it if a name of a company comes to mind when I ask these questions. Just shout them out, okay? Don't worry about raising your hands. Just shout out anybody that comes to mind, okay? So where should someone go enjoy a date night in Tallahassee? Aluso, great. What else? Where was that? Huntsman, great spot. Love it. Smoked prime rib, excellent. How about, where would you shop in Tallahassee? If someone asked you, where should I go shopping? Nick's, Narcissus, great. Okay, a couple wonderful answers there. Hearth and Soul, big fan of them. Go see their shop out front. More on that later. Who's the best veterinarian in Tallahassee? There you go. I love it. See, that's how you do it. Lauren knows the game. What about the best tree service?
Millers.
Just wrote them a big old check after that tornado a couple weeks ago. So I would have to agree with that. Who do you think tells the best stories? In all seriousness, I'll tell you something. If you could be in any town in America and need help telling your business story, Tallahassee is a pretty good one to be in. We have an incredible amount of marketing agencies in Tallahassee that are excellent at telling stories for their clients. We love doing it. A lot of great people that you should consider if you ever get in a jam there. You're fortunate to be in Tallahassee to be able to do that. So we think that companies who end up making the short list, again, no matter what industry you're talking about, they have 9 common traits. First one is they solve distinct problems for their customers. They offer clear benefits to those customers. They don't confuse their customers. Ladies and gentlemen, confusion is the enemy when you are trying to communicate to people. They stand out from the competition. What makes you different makes you great. If you saw the shirts, the golf shirts that our friends at TC Federal had on today, they were different. They stood out on the golf course. Their customers brag about them. How many of y'all keep track of the Google reviews that you get for your business? Right? Pretty important. I left one the other day for one of my favorite restaurants in town. It's called Maria. Anybody been to Maria? I tell my friend Edgar, who owns that place, that they have life-changing tacos. Okay, that's what I put in my Google review. I love bragging about my experience at Maria and many other places. They focus on what they're best at. Anybody enjoy watching the Olympics earlier this month? Every time I see Simone Biles come out on the screen, I think there is a woman who knows what she's best at and owns it through everything that she does. Your company needs to think the same way. They innovate. A couple years ago, I had a chance to go and do an interview with a man named David Purcell. Some of y'all might know David. He's got some Tallahassee ties. He owns a place called Purcell Farms, a really wonderful resort just outside of Birmingham. And I was working on a piece about his resort for the Golfer's Journal, who I get to write for from time to time. And he said something really profound to me. He said, I don't really care about the things that we're good at today. I'm always thinking about what can we be great at tomorrow. And I love that. It really stuck with me. Companies on the short list, they help their customers thrive. If you help your customers succeed, they will help you succeed. And of course, my favorite, they are relentless storytellers. They never stop telling their story through everything that they do. We're going to talk a lot about that today. So if you want to make the short list, ladies and gentlemen, you have to have a profound change in your mindset, okay? Business as usual and how you communicate will not get you to the top of anyone's short list. That's a journey that started for me way back in 2008. I got the chance to go work for John Daly, Mayor Daly, back when he was County Commissioner Daly. And I started with him when I was 20 years old, and I was an intern. I later became his chief of staff. And I never will forget, it was on the 3rd day I was working for John. I was standing in his office. He was at his laptop working on something, and I was running my mouth per usual. And I said, John, something along the lines of, it's not what you know, but who you know. And he stopped and looked at me, and I never will forget it. He tucked his glasses down, and he said, you're close, Rev. Actually, it's all about knowing who thinks of you and why. And that's never left me. And it's so important to understand who thinks of you and why, because if you want to be on the short list, you have to shape who thinks of you and why. And we have a very simple theory at Revell Media about how you can do this, okay? Tell better stories. Newsflash, ladies and gentlemen, your brand is not your logo. Your brand is the story people tell about you. So I always say that the bar at the Ritz is where brands go to die. So be careful out there tonight. If you can't tell that story well, I promise you your customers will never tell it well for you. Okay? I can speak from experience. Another golf story. I remember playing golf with a good friend of mine not long after I had started Revell Media. And he was very excited for me, and he looked at me and he said, man, I'm so pumped, this is cool, man. Tell me about your business. So what do you do? And all I could offer was a big steaming plate of word vomit. And I remember just walking away, and it's a pretty well-connected guy, and I just my head was down, and I was so disappointed in myself. I'm like, here I am trying to tell stories for people. I can't even tell my own story. And I really had another shift in mindset. And I said, you know what, we're going to become best at that. I'm going to figure out how to help people answer that question. And let me tell you something. When you go into that room here in about an hour, you want to know what the number one question everybody's going to ask when you meet someone for the first time is? So tell me what you do. Better have a good answer. Here's why. Anybody think your word-of-mouth marketing is important? Well, your word-of-mouth marketing starts with the words that come from your mouth. Don't serve up any word vomit when you get into that happy hour in a little bit later, okay? Get a good, confident answer. We're going to help you get there today. And another reason that's very important is something we like to call the narrative void, okay? If you leave a gap in your story, someone's going to fill that gap with bad information. Anybody here like to gossip? Sam? That's my girl. So, hey, guess what? Gossip is word-of-mouth marketing. It's just powered by bad information, okay? That's the narrative void. If you don't give your customers and your audience the right information that they need to tell your story, they're going to fill that void with other information they come across. So if you want to be on that short list, I assure you, you have to tell a great story. And before we help you get there, I'm going to twist that knife a little bit more. Why do stories matter so much? Well, stories are a survival mechanism. Okay? As human beings, ever since the beginning of time, we have used stories to help people understand what is important for us to survive. When you think about paintings on cave walls, what they're telling you is, don't go by the creek, that's where the saber-toothed tiger lives. Death. Right? That's a story. Anybody like watching TED Talks? A couple TED fans? I love sitting up late and watching TED Talks on YouTube. TED Talks are a wonderful example of how people use storytelling to translate powerful ideas. Anybody been to go see a movie lately? Probably not as much as you used to. I drugged my wife to a 9 p.m. showing of Deadpool and Wolverine 2 weeks ago. Like I said, she is a wonderful woman. And great movie, a little raunchy, pretty funny if you like Ryan Reynolds and his style of comedy. But what was so wonderful, the first time I've been back in the movie theater in probably a year, is being in a room full of people all laughing in unison, all cheering when Hugh Jackman comes out and gives you the Wolverine claws, right? Stories are how we connect as human beings. It gives us an opportunity to all be experiencing something simultaneously. I'm about to ruin, by the way, every movie that you ever see again in your life, okay? So if you know this, if you ever studied story, if you ever took multicultural film at Florida State University, great class, barely skated through that one. Movies are all broken down into essentially 3 acts, right? The first act, you have a character who is introduced to the audience, and they are presented with some kind of profound problem. And in the second act, they go on a journey to try to figure out a solution to that problem. And then, at the end of the movie, they solve the problem and they are transformed through the entire process of going through that story. Folks, stories make a lasting impression. Anybody remember Aesop's fables? Those have been handed down orally, generation after generation, for thousands of years. The tortoise and the hare, I don't even have to tell you the rest of the story. We all know the moral there. Stories make a lasting impression. When you go to share a recommendation for your short list, we talked about various places just a few minutes ago. Usually, that recommendation comes with a story. If you ask my mother-in-law about Paris, she loves Paris, big fan. You say, where should I stay in Paris, Cece? She's not going to just say, oh, there's a variety of nice hotels. She's going to tell you all about the Hotel Brighton and their wonderful breakfast offerings and how you can sit there with a garden view with the Eiffel Tower in the background, shimmering, ready for your delight, okay? When you share recommendations, they come as stories. We believe that great stories, in particular great business stories, have to be 3 things. They have to be clear, they have to be memorable, and they have to be repeatable. They have to be clear because your story needs to be easy for anyone to understand. Every single piece of content, any ad that we create for our clients, we first have to clear the hurdle is this clear enough? can we make this more clear? Because if it's not clear what you're trying to do, you got a big problem. It needs to be memorable. How many of you have ever seen a Super Bowl ad that you maybe thought was funny or amusing or told an interesting story, and when you went to go share it with someone later, you were like, I don't remember what company that was for. It was memorable, but it wasn't clear. All of these things have to work in unison. That story also needs to be repeatable. You need to be able to recite it. Because if you want someone to share that story, you want them to do it correctly. Clear, memorable, and repeatable. That's why you can't leave your story to chance. We're going to help you get there today. So, before I really get ramped up on this cold brew coffee that I cranked an hour ago, we're going to take a brief moment to center our chi. Any Mad Men fans in here? A few of you? Okay. So the very series finale of Mad Men, John Hamm's character, Don Draper, sitting on the cliffside, trying to recollect where his life has gone wrong. Great ad man. And he's sitting there meditating with all these sort of New Age California hippies at the time. And I really love that shot. So here's what I'm going to ask you all to do. We're all going to have a group meditation real fast. That sound fun? All right, so here's what we're going to do. First up, take a deep breath. Doesn't that feel nice? Next thing I'm going to ask you all to do is close your eyes. Close your eyes with me for just a minute. I want you to imagine yourself at the top of your customer's shortlist. Your voicemail is full because people are calling you constantly for your services. Your emails ring through the night because people need your attention. They need your help. You're seen as an expert in your industry. Your company is thriving. Your employees are happy. When you check that bank account, it's right where you want it to be and go in the right direction. You have a great story to tell. Now open your eyes. We're going to help you get there. So the first thing we do with every client, every new client opportunity we get, is we sit down and we do a deep dive into the particulars of your story. We analyze and we strategize. And we follow a model that was pioneered by the brand experts at Procter & Gamble. And they have 3 commandments at Procter & Gamble to help fill your shelves at home and your pantry with all their wonderful brands. They say, number 1, you have to know thy product. Number 2, you have to know thy competition. Know thy customer. And third, you have to know thy competition. Product, customer, competition. You need to know those 3 things inside and out. You need to labor over those details constantly, or hire someone to do it. The first question you have to understand when you're trying to follow that route that Procter & Gamble set forth is, what kind of problem do you solve? And we believe there are 2 essential problem sets that any business needs to be able to answer on this question. Let's think of an external problem. Let's say Saturday evening rolls around and your toilet gets clogged. And you've got a brunch hosted at your house at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. That is a real problem. You need that toilet fixed. You're going to call a plumber, probably from the top of your short list, and hope they get there in a hurry. You're willing to pay them whatever it costs. That is an external problem. Meanwhile, my silver-haired friend over here, he's going through a midlife crisis. He wants to feel younger. So when he goes and buys that little red Corvette, it doesn't have anything to do with the paint color, doesn't have anything to do with the speed or the leather trim. He's trying to feel younger. That is an internal problem. You need to know what kind of problem your business ultimately solves. And you need to figure out what your solutions look like. How can you show what those solutions look like versus just tell someone? I can hear Miss Lassiter, my 8th grade English teacher, show, Jay, don't tell. You got to show them. I love watching late night infomercials. Some of the best business storytelling that you ever find. Where's Gary? Gary's got a golf bag full of late night infomercial golf clubs. He and I love talking about this stuff. So I love my man from the flex tape. He doesn't just say, oh yeah, we'll use the flex tape. We can solve a little problem that you have. He shows a giant barrel of water with a little hole pouring water out of it. Here you go. Bam! Flex tape, no more problem. Or He's got a boat with a giant hole and he's paddling around in it. He's showing people what those solutions look like.
Where can I get it?
3 easy installments in $19.95, Gary. So one of the tricks that we like to use with our clients to kind of help you get in the right mindset for this is a game called It's Like But For. Back when Uber came out, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, Eddie would know, there were lots of startup companies that started popping up, and they'd say, oh, we're like Uber, but for this kind of industry, okay? Some of you may have seen, I wrote a column in the Tallahassee Democrat this morning, and basically what we said is that the Chamber Conference, for those of you who have never been, is like the Super Bowl, but for local businesses in Tallahassee, okay? That's how we do that. It's like, but for. You need to understand deeply what the transformation is that your customers go through, okay? And we think that there are essentially 3 great types of businesses when you look at them through the lens of their customer transformations. The first is time machines. I'm not talking about DeLoreans. A time machine sells you or gives you your time back. I have a wonderful guy who does our lawn in Tallahassee. His name is Justin. And Justin shows up every other Monday, and my lawn looks spectacular. I'm very capable of doing my own lawn. But when I do it, it takes me 5 hours. And I want to spend those 5 hours with my wife, with my kids, working on my business, maybe playing golf if I'm lucky. And that is time that Justin sells back to me. It's well worth whatever we have to pay him every other Monday to come out and mow our yard. Cash registers. This one shouldn't be too hard to figure out. Cash registers help you make money. How many of y'all are in a business-to-business type industry? Quite a few, I'd imagine. Most business-to-business companies are cash registers. They help people make more money. But you also might have someone like Walmart that helps you save money. Always low prices. Okay? My favorite is the magic mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most handsome of them all? It's you driving that little red Corvette that makes you feel 20 years younger. Magic mirrors make you feel better about yourself. That's the transformation. Another good movie reference. Anybody a Leo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese fan? The Wolf of Wall Street, one of my favorite movies in the last couple of decades. Just quotable from start to finish. Great scene in the middle of the movie. He's sitting around the table with all of his sales team, and he's challenging them to sell him this pen. And most of them fumble their way around till one guy says, oh, you want me to sell that pen? I'll sell you that pen. He goes, let me see it. He goes, hey, write your name on that piece of paper. He says, I don't have a pen. Sold. What he's doing there is he's thinking about benefits, not features. Okay? Don't tell somebody about your alabaster umbrella handle and nylon canopy. Tell them that you can stay dry in style. Okay? That's talking about benefits and transformations. To tell great stories, you have to simplify what you do and then amplify how you share it with the world. So this is an opportunity for someone to give a free commercial to a room full of business people. Who wants to give me an example of how they describe their business to others? Don't make me pick. Dan?
So I work for Tallahassee Magazine. I'm Director of New Business Development. And the benefit to using my business is I can put your branding message in front of homeowners who have 100,000 plus annual income for their houses versus a median household income, according to the Chamber of Commerce and OEB, of about $70,000. So, if you want to reach a higher end customer, deliver straight to their door, this is a great vehicle for you.
Who else wants to go? Let's do 2 commercials.
Stand up.
Sure, please.
Hi, I'm Alicia Cartwright with Equipment Share. We're a new equipment rental company in town for the construction industry that can revolutionize your sites. We are like United Rentals and Sunbelt, but for those contractors who want to actually manage their sites. So we have technology that can help you see the run times and productivity of every piece of equipment on every project that you have. And that's the difference that Equipment Share can bring to Tallahassee job sites.
Lovely job, Alicia. Dan, always wonderful. So now imagine you're going to try to do that, but you only get 3 to 5 words to do it. A little bit harder, isn't it? Okay? So here's some classic examples. When other people think about this, they think tagline, they think about slogans. The way we treat it with our customers, we say this is the first line of your brand story. This is encapsulating all that you do into just a few words, okay? Nike, get off your couch, go for a run. Just do it. Apple, they sell products for people who want to change the world. Think different. Want to go fast? How about a BMW, the ultimate driving machine? American Express, a lot of those getting set on fire here this weekend. Don't leave home without it. The world's foremost payment method. De Beers, I love this story. You know that 50, 60 years ago, the diamond was not really the preeminent engagement gem. They were more seen as a accessory gem to other stones. So De Beers comes along and says, you know, we should make the diamond the premier stone. A diamond is forever. That whole bit too, by the way, about you should spend 3 months of your salary on your engagement ring, they came up with that too. Oh. And then finally, I love this one too. This is a great classic, Avis Car Rental. They've been the number 2 car rental company in America for a long, long time, many decades. But you know what? We're number 2. We try harder. Beautiful. So here's a couple examples we've had a chance to work on with some of our clients. Our friends at Sperry Construction, this was client number 1 for Revell Media. My business literally started in their conference room. They do not build buildings. They build business dreams. Okay? They happen to be really good at building buildings. Build your dream. Our friends at TC Federal Bank. We started working with them a year and a half or so ago. One of the challenges that they had was their bank was growing beyond Thomas County into places like Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Savannah. So the letters TC needed a different definition. What's the transformation that people are looking for? How about trust and certainty where you need it most? My friends Mark and Jason at Nani Hamola Law Firm, a lot of different personal injury law firms. You'll see billboards say, accident, ? Well, guess what? If you're calling a personal injury law firm, you don't think it was an accident. You got hurt by someone. Negligence is a choice. It's no accident. How about our friends at Red Hills Market? You might better know them as Rainey Coughlin Distributors. They've been in business in Tallahassee over 75 years. They own 10 Shell-branded gasoline stations in our market. And they are getting more and more competitors in their space. You might have heard of a little company called Wawa coming to town. So they created a whole new brand for their stores, Red Hills Markets. What's the transformation that you get from Red Hills Markets? We fuel your day. You need gas? We got it. You need a new soda? We got that. Lucky Goat Coffee? We got that too. You want some tasty pastry snacks? We got it. Mistletoe. Where's Lorraine? I saw Lorraine walk in here. There she is. And Dan? Lovely. So the Osley family has this amazing place. It sits right on the Florida-Georgia border up on Meridian Road. It's called Mistletoe. Okay? And just in the last few months, they've announced that this is now open for business. They are selling opportunities for people to come out and enjoy this space as a retreat for things like corporate events, for family gatherings, for weddings. They've had some beautiful ones out there. Okay? So we had a chance, this is actually a cool story of some collaboration. We got to work with my friend Shirag over here and his agency. They did the logo, they did the website, we helped with the brand story. And it's been really fun because we got a chance to really dive into a lot of history at Mistletoe. In the Osley family, we got a chance to really think through what the customer is looking for. And one of the things that they mentioned to us is that their customers kept finding as, you know, people they bring out and tour, they said, boy, I really feel like I can kind of get away from my phone here. I can turn off the schedule, turn off the emails. I can be present. So we looked at kind of this classic invitation language. The pleasure of your presence is requested. Well, at Mistletoe, you can enjoy the pleasure of being present. One of my absolute favorite all-time pleasures that I got to work on in my career, and y'all should know this if you don't know about me already, my personal mission in life, professional mission might be a better way to put it, is to change the way the world thinks about Tallahassee. I've been on that mission for a long time. It's very deep and personal to me, okay? We got to work with our friends at Visit Tallahassee last year to help devise the brand narrative and tagline for this year's bicentennial celebration. Okay? So we went all the way back to the founding of Tallahassee in 1824. And we said, well, what was it about this whole instance that we could pull through that could maybe represent where we've come from, where we are, and where we're going? And one word kept coming up in every conversation. That is ambition. The very idea that someone or a group of people could build a capital city in the literal wilderness of what was then called Middle Florida was ambitious from the beginning. And that is the narrative story that they've told all year long. You need to be able to focus, ladies and gentlemen, on what you are best at. Not what you're good at, not what you're decent at, what you're best at. You need to narrow your focus, narrow your offerings. We had a team meeting just like last week, and I gave them a list of 3 or 4 things that we're not doing anymore. We're pretty good at them, but we're not the best at them, and we're not going to do them anymore, okay? Because we want to get to the top of the short list. I love this quote from one of the most brilliant minds, I think, in the world today. His name is Revell Media. He is a startup founder and Silicon Valley investor, and he says that your goal should be to become the best in the world at what you do and redefine what you do until that is true. That means narrow your focus. One way to do that is to focus on your onlyness. Examples of things that your company does that no one else can do, that no one else can offer. Can anybody give me an example of how their company has an onlyness in Tallahassee? We're Tallahassee's only, fill in the blank. Yes, ma'am.
So we are the only high-magnetic field laboratory not only in Tallahassee but in the world. And so what we do is we enable the best science and technology in high-magnetic fields on Earth and make the world a better place.
Love it. Mwah. Florida's most powerful attraction.
Control the weather, so nobody
Yeah, well, you know, hey, listen. There's a great movie called John Wayne movie, Jimmy Stewart. It's called The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Anybody ever seen The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance? Phenomenal film, directed by John Ford. And the great line in the film is, at the end, this guy says, when the legend becomes fact, print the legend. Roll with it. So I'll give you an example of a Tallahassee-only story that I've been involved with for the last 2 years. This week we are rolling out and announcing a new book called Here is Tallahassee. And I've had the chance to work on this with 2 dear friends, Serena Moyle and Eric Martin. If you don't know Eric Martin, by the way, you're going to. Eric might be the most talented photographer in Tallahassee. He has an eye unlike anything I've ever seen before. It all started when I saw him post a picture of the Whataburger in Midtown. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like weeping. I'm like, this is a monument to taquitos. Oh my God. In fact, Whataburger put it on the cover of their annual report. A fast food joint. So Eric, I go tumbling down the rabbit hole studying his work. I'm just seeing photo after photo after photo of places that I've seen in Tallahassee, places that I've had great experiences in. I call Eric and I say, we got to get coffee. I need to meet you. I need to talk to you. I have an idea. So this book contains 200 photographs of modern Tallahassee, a snapshot in time of who we are when we turn 200 years old this year. And you can buy that book starting today. This book is Tallahassee's only coffee table book celebrating our bicentennial. Anybody ever read the book Saints of Old Florida? Anybody got a copy of that in their house? Well, Here's Tallahassee is like Saints of Old Florida, but for Tallahassee. See what I did there? So the final stage here is you've got to be consistent and persistent. By the way, the book is available exclusively through Hearth and Soul. 1,500 copies total. Going to be a hot item going into Christmas. If you want one, you might want to get it. You need to add, yeah, we won't talk about price. Think about the transformation you're going to have with that book sitting on your coffee table this Christmas and your friends looking at it. So you have to ask yourself, how can you tell these simple, clear, memorable, and repeatable stories every single day? And the answer is that you have to create systems. Systems work better than goals. Like my friend Bart here writes on the chalkboard, repetition is a superpower. What you repeat becomes your reality. Whether it's going to the gym, working on your diet, or telling your story. Here's some systems that you can start to think about how to engage for your business, okay? Your brand language. Going back to, bless you, Dan. Going back to the idea of your word-of-mouth marketing and the words that come out of your mouth shaping the words that come out of your customer's mouth, okay? You need to use specific language when you talk about your products and services, your company, the problems you solve, the transformations you create. And you need to use it over and over and over again. Corporate storytelling that grows brands and bottom lines. Over and over and over again. Do not relent. Your owned media, okay? This is every channel that you actually own that you get a chance to tell a story through. That can be everything as small as your business cards, your name tag, the shirts that you wear. I had a great example of it just yesterday. I was driving down I-10 heading over here. I get a text from a man, Blake Dowling, who is a brand expert unto himself. And Blake says, love the car tag. He's up there 4 or 5 cars in front of me, sees it in the rearview mirror, right? A big Revell Media on the front, okay? You need to look at every single thing that you own through your business and figure out if there's a way to weave your story into it, okay? Client engagements. Every interaction that you have with a client is an opportunity to share your story. And not just speak to them, but give your clients and your customers an opportunity to see themselves in your story. That is the magic sauce. Team rituals. We went and had a team dinner last night. It's one of my favorite things we get to do every year. We make this trip. We do a few of them throughout the year. I love getting together with a meal with my gang. We always talk about how we can not only tell our story better, but how we can help our clients tell their stories better, okay? Anytime you gather with your team, that's an opportunity for you to work on sharing that story in unison. How about chamber events? That's a pretty good repeatable system. So Dan mentioned earlier what his brand story is all about. How many of y'all know Dan Parisi? How many of you knew the answer to that question before he gave it? Dan, how's that possible?
I guess I haven't made enough connections in the room. Oh, how do I?
Yeah, how do you?
I gotcha. I go a lot of chamber events, man.
That's right.
When I moved here in 2003, most of my background was national sales when I came from Miami. And what I said to myself is, I can do everything I can to connect locally. And so for 21 years, I've attended stuff at chamber events, and most of the contacts I've made locally have come through the chamber.
No doubt about it. It's a hell of a system for telling your story. I told my team last night, Dan, I said, Dan's got walk-in privileges at our office. He just comes in. I'm like glad to see him every time. So there's a lot of great ancient wisdom in the world of advertising and marketing, stuff that remains true throughout the generations. One of my favorite examples of this is there was a book written well over 100 years ago called Successful Advertising by a British man named Thomas Smith. And when he talks about the compounding interest effect of great communications, he offers the following. The first time someone sees an ad, they don't see it. The second time, they don't notice it. The third time, they are aware that it is there. The fourth time, they have a fleeting sense that they've seen it before. The fifth time, they actually read the ad. The sixth time, they thumb their nose at it. The seventh time, they get a little irritated with it. The eighth time, they think, here's that confounded ad again. The ninth time, they wonder if they're missing out on something. The 10th time, they ask their friends, have you tried it? The 11th time, they wonder how this company is paying for all these damn ads. The 12th time, they start to think, this must be a good product. And the 13th time, they start to believe that the product or service has value. Long story short, folks, you need to think like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola wants you to see their brand 50 times a day. 50. You probably already have. I do something with my class at Florida State every year, by the way. Early in the semester, I say, I want you to get out, you're going to keep a journal. okay? And when you leave the room tonight, I want you to write down in your journal every piece of advertising you see over the next 24 hours. Most of them don't make it more than about 30 minutes because they've into 6 pages deep, okay? The world's a very noisy place. Everyone's clamoring for your attention. You have to weave that story into everything you do if you want to have a chance to break through and get to the top of the short list. And there's really 3 categories of media that you can use to do this, okay? We talked a little bit briefly about your owned media, okay? One of my favorite examples from our world is, again, my friends Mark and Jason from Nani Hamola. We developed a podcast for them called It's No Accident. And we shoot the podcast with them once a month. And our goal is really not to be the best, personal injury law firm podcast in the state of Florida, although that's a nice ambition. We use it as a piece of anchor content. We take that initial shoot, we chop it into multiple podcast episodes. We publish those on YouTube. We publish them on all your favorite podcast listening apps. We then take them and chop them up even further into social media posts. We then take them and share them and turn them into blog posts that match up with what they're saying. We then take them and share them through their monthly email newsletter that goes out to hundreds of past clients. That is how you weave your story through all of your owned channels. Paid channels, okay? This is an ad we just created for our friends at TC Federal Bank. They're celebrating their 90th anniversary this year, which is fun. And whatever we do for them, we try to figure out, okay, how can we weave that story of trust and certainty through community banking into what we're doing? If you went to Thomasville over the summer, you might have seen their light pole banner celebrating their 90th anniversary all over downtown. That's an example of weaving that story through your paid media, any paid advertising you do. This example you see at the front page of the Tallahassee Democrat here is a recent story about the opening of Danfoss Turbocor's brand new Project Horizon facility. If you haven't been out there to see it, it is a monumental building. It is incredible to see what that company continues to do and invest. You talked about the Mag Lab. It's the reason they're there, okay? I got to go, and our team, in that building from the very first piece of dirt they turned all the way till they gave the keys over. It was incredible to see. We helped get this story planted, and a number of stories planted throughout the process. I don't know if Tamarin's around here. Tamarin Waters, by the way, is a real service to our community. She is the business reporter for the Tallahassee Democrat. She's going to be here all weekend. Go tell her I love her. And if you got a great story to tell about your business, that's someone you need to go talk to. But you need to try to figure out ways to earn media to tell your story, okay? So how can you inspire your team members and your customers to tell that story for you? This is a really important part of the equation. We believe that every great brand has to have a purpose. We help our clients develop something called a brand purpose card, okay? I actually stole this idea from Augusta National Golf Club. They have something called the Little Green Card. They carry it around in their big green jackets. And this is an example of one we did for our friends at TC Federal. On one side of the card is language used for the bankers to talk with each other. How do we talk amongst ourselves? The other side is how we talk with the world, okay? You have to figure out what your purpose is, and you have to make sure everybody understands it. Moral of that story is you have to empower those you depend on, okay? You need to allow people to tell your story. Too many people guard their story too closely. They worry about the details. We like to talk, a lot of people talk outside the box thinking. We love inside the box thinking. I'm going to paint you a very defined box. You can do whatever you want within it. As long as you're staying in the parameters of the story that we believe is true about what you do, you can go any direction you want. Stay inside that box. Empower people to tell that story for you. Again, be a relentless storyteller. How many of you think or consider yourself to be a leader in your company or an organization? Probably quite a few, I would think. If you're going to be a leader in your organization, you have to be the one that the storytelling starts with. Everything flows downhill from the example that you set. If you don't tell your story well, your employees won't tell their story well. And guess what? If you want to sell more, you want to grow your business, you need them out championing the story of your company when they're at their kids' t-ball game, when they're at the grocery store, wherever they may be. That's an opportunity for them to tell your story, but it starts with you. And you should know this. Your story travels at the speed of value. Your customer is the protagonist, not you. I bet most people in this room and most people at this conference have an about page on their website that is this long, full of all kinds of details that your customers don't care about. I promise you, they don't care. They're not reading it, they don't care. You know what they care about? How can you solve their problem? That's the value that you have to articulate through your storytelling. And if you can, I promise you it will spread. The end goal here, ladies and gentlemen, is to be synonymous with the problem that you solve. Our mission statement at Revell Media, literally, is to become synonymous with corporate storytelling in Florida's capital region. By the way, this is a talk for a whole nother day in another conference. But if you have a mission statement that is full of run-on sentences and it's a paragraph long and your employees can't recite it, it's worthless. I promise you. They don't know it. They ain't living by it. Tighten it up. What do you want your company to be synonymous with? That's the question your mission statement needs to answer. Getting to the short list, y'all, is counterintuitive. We talked about narrowing your focus. You need to serve specific customers. You need to charge more. Nothing wrong with that, right? If you're good at something. So don't do haircuts. Offer elite barber services for affluent gentlemen. See what I mean there? Specificity is the key. It's the difference between dining at a Lusso and Golden Corral. A Lusso offers Tallahassee's only premium Italian steakhouse. And Golden Corral? Hey. You want nachos? We got nachos. You want a fondue fountain? We got that. Ranch fountain too. You want prime rib? Got it. How about a shrimp kebab? Boom. Fresh. Right? For $20, you can have everything. Nobody's got Golden Corral at the top of their short list, but they offer every single thing you could possibly want to eat. If you're not on that short list, y'all, business is hard. Starting a business is a hell of a venture. A lot of y'all have done it. It's difficult. It's hard. Nothing pains me more than seeing someone who works up the courage to start a business and see it falter because they aren't able to tell a great story about why their products and services make a difference in people's lives. But you can do that. So our key takeaways today, ladies and gentlemen, number one, you need to analyze your message. You need to strategize. How can I share this in an interesting way? Clear, memorable, and repeatable. How can I simplify this story and amplify how we deliver it? How can I be consistent and persistent in how we tell our story every single day? Remember, your brand is the story people tell about you. It's up to you to shape who thinks of you and why. We believe that if you can grow your brand, you can grow your bottom line. They are linked at every step of your company's growth. The more customers think of you, the higher you're going to climb on their short list. If you need windows in Panama City, call Corbett Proctor. Folks, if you want to follow along with some of this brand advice, we do a weekly email called The Short List. We'd love for you to join our community and sign up. So it goes out every single Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Have I got any short list subscribers in the room? Not too bad, not too bad. We got some good stuff in there, y'all. I take a lot of pride in being able to get that out. We've done it every single Tuesday for the last 2.5 years. There's another member of our team, by the way, who lives in Boston. Her name is Claire Thaler. She is our creative assistant. She's the one who makes those emails look good and catches all my typos. She can't be here today. She's auditioning for first-chair violins across the country, which is pretty cool. She's very talented. Again, my name is Jay Revell, President and Chief Storyteller at Revell Media. If you want some help getting to the top of the short list, we would love to be a part of that journey because we believe that your story matters, and boy, do we enjoy helping you tell it better. So with the time we have left between now and the bar opening, I'll take any questions, any thoughts, and if anybody wants to just workshop and throw out some crazy ideas about your brand story, I will sit here until the first beer is cracked. Any questions? Yes, sir.
You talked about addressing external versus internal problems.
Sure.
What if your business identifies and addresses both?
Well, that's a good problem to have. But you need to have that written down on paper. You need to have a clear delineation between each of those problems. And you need to make sure that the messaging that you offer when speaking to those customers, because most times, on occasion, they're the same customer, but a lot of times they're different customers. So you need to have variations of your message. Like, remember I was talking about inside the box thinking? So you've got your top line story, the way that you're going to talk about your company, but it's not going to be the same for every customer you interact with, right? You want to be able to have some flexibility with how that story interacts. You want that customer to see themselves in the story. So your job is to figure out which one of the problems that individual person that you're talking to, you're pitching, is trying to solve. Okay? And it might be a little bit of both, but you need to have talking points that speak to how your products and services solves each of those problems. John, my man.
So Jay, you talk about, sometimes your mission statement, your professional bio on the website is here.
Mm-hmm.
You said it's here, right?
Yep.
That's difficult a lot of times because you're so close to it, right? You're intimate, right?
Yep.
It's like you got all these words to say. So what's your recommendation of shrinking it down? Making it tighter?
Cut till you can't cut anymore. You need to figure out what your, in math, right, you go back to your middle school arithmetic, they talked about the least common denominator. Well, you've got to come up with what your most common solution is. This goes back to the idea of figuring out what you're best at. Can you imagine if Golden Corral was trying to describe their restaurant? What would they literally should just say we have it all, right? You've got to figure out what you're best at, and you got to make sure that your messaging is aimed at it. But here's the other piece of it, right? Marketing that's not authentic is not going to work. You're not going to convince anybody that you're something that you're not, okay? This whole system falls apart if you try to force something that isn't true. So you have to get down to what is true about my business. Imagine two concentric circles. On one side, it's what we're best at. On the other, it's what we're most profitable at. Wherever those circles come together, that's a pretty good place to start with figuring out how you want to talk about your business, because that's what you really need to be focused on. And every day you spend time on other things is a day that someone's getting better at that thing that you want to be best at. Other questions? Dan?
I have a question, Jay. I have a statement. You talk about your short list e-newsletter.
Yep.
I mean, we all get so many emails, it's just crazy. But the one that I read every week is Jay's, because it's short, it's concise, and it's got really good information. So we'll give him a shout out. Like, if you don't subscribe to it, you really should, because it's always fresh and new. We had a conversation one day, I'm like, they come up with something new every week, and they do. It's great.
As you said that, I just had a panic attack because I realized it's Friday, and Claire's probably texting me right now going, where is the copy for next Tuesday? Because I do it every Friday at 9 a.m. Probably going to talk about this. I don't know. We'll come up with something. You know what, though? I have a system. I sit down at my desk every Friday morning at 9 a.m. after I come off of Greg Tish's show, and I just start writing, and then I start cutting. Try to get it down as tight as I can. We do 3 things in that email every week, right? The first segment is an observation, something that we've just seen and stumbled on in the world that caught our attention. The second is a revelation, pun very much intended. That is an original thought that our team has created about how we talk about branding and marketing. And then finally is a story that we told, where we like to figure out something interesting that moved the needle for one of our clients that week and gave us a chance to help them tell their story. We like to share that specifically. It's fun. It takes you about 2 minutes to read the whole thing if you're moving slow. Other questions? Thoughts? Yes, sir. Mr. Pounders.
Kind of follow up to John's question and also kind of shout out the work that you guys have been doing. I'm with Charlie Park, the rooftop bar at East Marriott Hotel, and Jay, talking about what we do. One of the things we do is events, and Jay and his team, we work together to put together a really awesome direct-to-camera video that tells the story of why we do events and not kind of the website, and to be able to clip for social media and all that kind of stuff. So a great way to take that about us and put your face to it and be able to tell that story a lot better.
We were sitting there kind of, BSing off camera the other day about all this and having some fun, and they have this really cool thing that I really like about Charlie Park, though. They kind of have a persona for their space. Like if it was a celebrity, who would it be, right? And it's Reese Witherspoon. And I loved it. I said, if Reese Witherspoon came to Tallahassee, this is where she'd have a martini, right? That kind of sums up Charlie Park pretty well. Y'all do great work down there, Eric. Any other questions, thoughts? Anybody want to come up here and we'll give you a brand story in 3 minutes or less? A lot of pressure on me. I can't tell y'all how much I appreciate you being here. It means the world to me that you would come and listen to me yap for 56 minutes. We're right on time for going to the happy hour. It's a great opportunity for you to all to go out and tell your story to somebody new. By the way, there are 75 first-timers at this conference this weekend. Isn't that great? Because it's the Super Bowl, but for local businesses in Tallahassee. Y'all, thank you so much. If you ever want to have a conversation, we'd love to engage with you. Appreciate your time and being here. Have some fun this weekend. And don't forget to tell your story relentlessly. Appreciate you very much.